Welcome. Scott here. Here is a quick boss guide for the global exclusive Leyfania Plus event, Return of the Queen. The event banner features Final Fantasy XV's Noctis with his rework and BT realization. We also finally see Final Fantasy XIII Vanille's LD making her long-awaited debut. The following characters are also synergy for the event. They are Noelle, Cid, Sarah, and Onion Knight. All characters have gotten their C90 awakenings. For this fight, we will be fighting a Lamia Queen which have 19.5 million HP. Accompanying her is a Penelo and Hope manikin which has 3 million HP each. The turn requirement is 55. The HP requirements is 15,000. The guide is written based on my run's experience. I have only done 2 so far. Thus please pardon me if I have missed out any key mechanics. Firstly, let's go through the Leyfania Plus Orb Conditions. The Leyfania Plus Orb Conditions for the fight requires you to dispel a buff from the boss. The orb will be activated at the start of the fight threshold with the counter of 10. It will be cancelled once the boss HP dropped to 49%. Unlike most Leyfania, if the boss act, the orb will also uptick the orb by 2. There are a lot of dispellers option available. They are Vanille, Cid Highwind, Bald Here, Beatrix, Cid Rains, Arcila, Cloud, Kaduch, Ferris, Pain, Shelka and Lion. You need to give the manikins a turn so that they can award the party with buffs that you can dispel to uptick the orb. Do watch out for the Penelo manikin's AoE HP attack at the starts of its turn. Both Cid Rains and Arcila works extremely well for the fight as they also offer other gimmicks that will help a lot for the fight. Now let's proceed with some party setup recommendations. Recommended calls abilities. To ensure that you are able to constantly break them, it is important to inflict defense down debuffs. Example of calls abilities that inflict defense down calls are Ferris, Jack, Titus, and Vanille. As the boss has a huge amount of HP damage up debuff calls like Karasame, Gabrinth, Ignis, Fran, and Maria are useful. Although a bit trickier to use, Aura type HP damage up calls like Queen, Kamari, and Cid are also viable. As mentioned in the previous slide, you need to dispel boss buffs to uptick the orb. Other than Ferris call, examples of dispel calls are Vanille, Bald Here, Beatrix, Cloud and Pain. Next, I will be covering units that will be useful to handle the fight mechanics. Like other Leyfania Plus events, it is always recommended to bring supports for their aura and buffs. They are Purim, Setzer, Agrias, Katesith, Ishtala, Bartz, Lena and Selfa. You will face deadly AoE HP attacks from the Penelo manikin, so you need deploy damage mitigation to minimize the HP damage unless you are doing a blitzkrieg run. Options include Snow, Core, Gladiolus, Warrior of Light, Bash, Orin, Zac, 9 and Beatrix. Beatrix also have Dispel utility. Warrior of Light, Bash, and 9 offers better damage mitigation compared to the rest as the Penelo manikin will cleanses all debuffs before it uses the Evanescence AoE HP attack. For damage dealers, you can consider the following units: Lon and Ren, Noelle, Ace, Cloud of Darkness, Machina, Noctis, Chaos, Kane, Cid Highwind, Strago, Jegran, Kuja, Squall, Titus, and Tira. Other than playing damage mitigators, you can halt the boss movement with turn denial abilities like Paralysis, HP Silence, and Confusion. Examples are Arcila, Kefka, Shantato, Aldnark and Agrias. Arcila is a great option for the fight as she also has dispelling utility. You can cheese the fight with the infamous Sidma combo. However, do watch out for the boss warp mechanics on your 10th consecutive action. Upon the condition is triggered, it will cleanse all the debuffs on itself. Do make sure a manikin is dead, the Lamia Queen will waste that warp turn on reviving a manikin. Before I going with the details of the boss mechanics, here is a quick overview for the fight. Basically, the fight can be divided into 2 phases: the orb phase and non-orb phase. Throughout the fight, the boss had a turn warp mechanic that trigger when you accumulate 10 consecutive actions. If you trigger it, the boss will cleanse all debuffs and warp their turn right after the unit that triggers it. It can be disastrous if the boss brave is high. If you have no choice but need to trigger it, try to kill one of the manikins, so the boss will waste its turn to revive the dead mannequin. The first phase covers from the start of the fight till the 49% HP threshold while the Leyfania Plus orb is active. You need to give the boss manikins a turn so they can buff the party with some buffs for you to dispel. However, do watch out for the Penelo's mannequin turn when it is targeting your entire party. The Evanescence and AoE HP attack that also cleanse all debuffs on the boss and grants 3 framed buffs for the boss party. You can render it inactive with HP silence. Having Arcila or Kefka in the party will make fight a lot significantly easier. The brave damage and gain reductions can go up to 90% and the boss could boost up their defenses up to 300%. Constantly upkeeping your debuffs and auras are important as this will ensure that you are able to deal the required damage. If you brought a Lan and Ren friend, they are ideal friend support for the fight thanks to their awesome damage. By the way, do share Lan and Ren if you have them fully kitted. It will help a lot for the players who are playing the event. So once the orb is gone, the fight should be easy. Not really until you finished dealing with the following mechanic. At the start of second phase, the boss will resummon 2 manikins if they are dead or heal them up back to 100% if they are alive. The manikins will also gain 200% defense boost along with 70% brave damage reduction auras. It is best to save your summon or burst phase when you are about to trigger the threshold. Avoid trigger the threshold with the 10 consecutive action penalty. The fight is technically a reskin of the original Lan and Ren LD BT event Heretics except the Warrior of Light mannequin is being replaced with a Hope mannequin. Other than that, the turn count is quite tight for non-BT plus party. So keep in mind of the turn count when you are playing the fight. Now let's proceed with the boss mechanics proper. Like the previous Leyfania Plus fights, the boss will gain big stats boosts, brave damage, and brave gain reduction auras when you deplete their HP to a certain threshold. The threshold's trigger for this fight is at the start of the fight, 79% HP threshold and 49% HP thresholds. At the start of the fight, it will boost its defense by 200%. At 79% HP threshold, it will further boost the defense to 300%. The maximum brave damage reduction auras is 90%. The maximum brave gain reduction auras are 90%. At the 49% HP threshold, the orb will be deactivated for good. That's the good news. The bad news is that the boss will revive the manikins or heal them back to 100% if they are alive. This revival phase is different from the usual arise as the manikins will also gain 200% defense boost along with 70% brave damage reduction aura. However, killing them will result the boss get inflicted with 50% defense down debuff along with a 50% brave damage up debuff for 1 turn. Use that to your advantage. However, you will still need to watch out for 10 consecutive turn warp mechanic along with the Leyfania Plus Orb Conditions while navigating through the thresholds. We have come to the final section of the guide. At the start of the fight, you see the following prompt. Lamia Queen's turn rate instant after 10 consecutive turns. I have provided a table showing on how the actions count work. A simple trick is keeping one of the manikins dead so when the Lamia Queen warp its turn, it will use a rise instead of its other moveset. The downside is that your precious debuffs will get cleansed if the mechanic got triggered. So, it is your best interest to give them some turns but disable them from acting. Units that can disable actions like Agrias will be useful. As mentioned earlier, Kefka and Arcila are very useful for their HP silence debuff. In my opinion, Arcila is a MVP for the fight as she also offers Dispel utility. On the right side of the slide, I have listed down the summarized move set of the boss and the manikins. As the manikins can provide substantial boost to their party, For example, HP Regen, Shell, and Protect to negate your HP or Brave damage. The Penelo manikin is the deadliest bunch of the trio. It will always start to use Evanescence on its first turn after it has been resummoned. The only situation that it won't start off using that is during the 49% HP threshold, when it will do 2 single target Brave attacks before going to its standard moveset. The Lamia Queen has a simple moveset. It can use Allure to disable a unit turn for 1 turn. The turn count is awfully tight. When you are about to finish it, try to deny the Queen Lamia turns to prevent it from resummon the manikin. If it managed to do that, it could end up adding additional turns that you need to finish the fight. The outcome could resulting you failing the turn count. I have come to the end of my boss guide presentation. Hopefully you find it useful. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to my channel for future gaming content. Good luck for the fight. Bye.